You're listening to A Glimpse Inside on the Super Power Up Network, the show that affirms for people there is more to life, and it is possible to be happy, inspired, successful, joyous, and free.
Welcome. This is A Glimpse Inside. I'm Wendy Perrotti, and today we're wrapping up our 4-part series, Letting Happiness Win, with a conversation about finding happiness at work. 20 years ago, my guest Lionel Ketchian, president of LRK Communications, held a meeting in Fairfield, Connecticut, open to anyone who is interested in leading a happier life. He called it the Happiness Club. In the 2 decades that have passed since that first meeting, Lionel's Happiness Club has spread across the globe with over 1,000 chapters offering monthly content, conversation, and connection to tens of thousands of people every day. To this day, he continues to run the monthly meeting of the Fairfield Happiness Club and co-leads the meetings of the Woodbridge, Connecticut chapter, along with his longtime friend and colleague, Dr. Bernie Siegel. He's currently the co-host of the weekly cable television program, The Happiness Show, and author of Food for Thought, a book of inspirational wisdom that has been endorsed by Reverend Norman Vincent Peale and Ken Blanchard. Lionel has taught happiness at Sacred Heart University and is currently working at Connecticut Hospice to help the staff there who do such important and emotional work find space for happiness in their day. I'm so excited to have you here with me today, Lionel.
Well, thank you, Wendy. It's so good to be with you again.
Yeah, we met at the Happiness Club, right?
Absolutely. What a wonderful presentation you had presented. It was so much value, and I never realized that you had so much to give to others and share with us. It was just phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Our missions are sort of simpatico, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So tell me about what in your life inspired you to start the Happiness Club.
Yes, well, as you had mentioned, I was teaching my first class at Sacred Heart University was in the fall of 1999, and the class wanted to keep learning because they thought they were just going to learn about happiness, not become happier, which they didn't know that was part of the deal. So I thought it was great that they wanted, to continue their interest in something that I love. And that's how the Happiness Club was formed, from their desire to keep meeting. And we had the first meeting on January 13th, 2000 in Fairfield. And we continue to have those meetings ever since then. And it's just spread, like wildfire because of wonderful people who feel that, becoming a facilitator and becoming responsible for presenting clubs and meetings and presentations like the one you have done, inspire people, change their lives, give people new meaning and thought. And it really is a contagious, wonderful spread of the best things in the world.
You have some incredible facilitators and members here in Connecticut that I've met, and I'm sure across the world. Can you share an inspirational story, something that comes to mind about what the Happiness Club has done for folks?
One of the thoughts that just popped into my head a very long time ago, I had this little couple of steps, and it was that people would walk up 2 or 3 steps and just say, I made the happiness decision for the rest of my life. And I remember an older woman, she could have been in her 90s. We helped her go up the stairs. And she yelled out with all her might, I made the happiness decision, and then came down the stairs and then shared that she wished she had made it so long ago, that she's older now and making it now felt good. But she was talking about all these other years that she could have had this feeling. And I said, look, we only have now, all of us. We never know what we have next. So really, no matter what age you are, when you make that decision to be happy now, it is with you the rest of your life. None of us know how long that is. So the feeling could be the decision and the feeling you derive from that decision can be made at any age, at any time. But the only time it could actually be made is now. So really, this is the whole point of this. And when we talk about a decision, we're talking about changing our mental thoughts so that now they're generating positive thoughts of happiness. And so now we know where we're going. We know where our compass is headed, and we know what our focus is. So it's as simple as that, really.
You talk a lot about that happiness is a choice and that it is a decision that you make. It's not something that happens to you. It's something that you create by choosing to think in a particular way.
Absolutely. In fact, in one of the editions of the Oxford Dictionary of American Quotations, I'm in it, having said happiness is a decision, and then they state the New York Times, and it was in my book Food for Thought from 1989. So I'm glad and proud to say that this is an original thought. Now the choices, we've heard happiness is a choice, and that's true. But see, with choices, you can only make the choice you're aware of, and so when you're not aware that you can make a choice to be happy, you won't make it. Mm-hmm. And so the decision becomes primary because then you realize what your life is all about. It becomes a very important decision that you've made, a commitment, an intention. And not only are you making it, but the universe is drawing it towards you as well. So you have both ends covered. The universe has your back when you make that decision.
I love that. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it starts with the decision. You have to decide to be happy. And then from there, once you've made the decision, it's about the choices that you make to fulfill that decision.
Absolutely. And you will much more readily be aware of that choice once you've made the decision, because it's just amazing the people that you think by coincidence you run into and the events that happen to you. But it's just an amazing thing that goes on in life. And it's really the law of attraction. We are reaping what we're sowing. So if you want something good like happiness, if you put it out there and focus on it, that's what you're going to grow. The seeds you plant are the fruits you reap.
Mm. And for those of you out there who are thinking, that sounds a little bit woo-woo for me, that I could just choose to be happy and bibbidi-bobbidi-boo, I'm happy. There's a lot of science, right? There's a lot of science behind intentionality and behind choice and behind repetitive thinking. And I'm a big brain nerd, so I'd love to get into that. And let's start there when we come back from our break. How's that?
Sounds good, Wendy.
Okay, so we've been learning a little bit about my guest today, Lionel Ketchian, about how he got into the happiness business and about happiness being both a decision and then a choice that you make every day. We're going to take a really quick break, and when we come back, Lionel and I are going to dig into a little bit of that brain stuff and then today's topic of happiness in the workplace. As always, I'll be giving you some tips and tools you can use along the way. I'm sure Lionel's got some gems for us too. Lionel, before we break, what can listeners do? Where can they go if they want to learn more about you or the Happiness Club?
Yeah, the primary place to go is the website, happinessclub.com. And there they can get the free newsletter, once a month newsletter, information on the free classes that are offered at Happy You every Monday on the phone, and the meetings that we have all over the place.
Perfect. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. This is Tonya Don Rekla, Executive Director of Superpower Experts, and we want to thank each of you for making Superpower Up the #1 podcast network for personal development and spiritual growth. Because people like you have the courage to say that mindfulness, healthy living, disrupting reality, the pursuit of consciousness, responsible entrepreneurship, and radical parenting matter. We now amass over 1 million downloads monthly in more than 90 countries. Our numbers keep growing because there are far more people willing to live divergently than mass media wants to acknowledge. For you, the change makers, the light bearers, the way showers, we say thank you. If you're ready to take the next step in your evolution, go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the Superpower Quiz. And as Neva Lee Rekla, our youngest podcaster, likes to remind us, remember, we all have superpowers and we can change the world.
We're back. Today we are with Lionel Ketchian talking about happiness at work. It's part 4 of our 4-part series, Letting Happiness Win. Okay, so before we cut into break, we were talking about sort of the science behind the choices we make every day. I know you've done a lot of research on the topic. I've done a lot of research on the topic. What's your take on how our intentions lead to our outcomes?
Well, for one of the primary, one of the big chunks of happiness is appreciation, gratitude. When we exercise our ability to be grateful, I like to think of it as 97.5%. I know I'm making up a almost a fake number because it could be 95.4%. Who knows? But what I'm really saying is that an awful big chunk of happiness is about gratitude. So if you're not swimming in gratitude, forget the 3 gratitude things a day that you could write down. Throw that paper away. How about 3 a second? How about right now coming up with endless things that you could be grateful for? The ability to hear, see, touch. It's just an unending amount of fulfillment that we realize. And once you're swimming in gratitude, you're lovingly happy. I mean, the whole thing is magical. And I got to share one other thing. There's another very important thing because I've been at this for 30 years with happiness. And I can give you 4,700 hours of tools and information and never stop talking about the knowledge that you could gain about happiness. But that's only part of it. The real trip is, I would put it this way, between knowledge and action, there's a giant space, a giant canyon. Mm-hmm. You've got to jump across that canyon with faith. Take any tool like gratitude, jump across that canyon to action, put it to work, and bingo, you're there. That's all you really need is to act as if you're happy, make it a part of you, and don't look back.
I think what's interesting about that is that so many people don't realize we understand that we learn through repetition, right? That's how we learned how to use our iPhones. It's how we learned how to drive a car. It's how we learned how to tie our shoes when we were kids, right? We learn everything through repetition. We also learn by the repetitive thoughts in our minds. So when we're telling ourselves over and over and over again that we're at the mercy of our circumstances or we're at the mercy of other people, we begin to believe that. It becomes a reality. And this idea that you're saying, make the leap, make the decision to be happy, choose to be happy, and do that every day, all day, every day. You're
Absolutely
feeding that neuroplasticity. You're feeding the mind by saying, as you repeat this, and this isn't smoked and ponies, right? This isn't like us saying, let's just look at the world through rose-colored glasses. It's saying, what are you actually grateful for in real life? What are you
exactly
enjoying in real life, and repeating that over and over again?
Right. Wendy, you hit the nail on the head. You really did. I mean, this is the most important thing. For example, tomorrow at 6 o'clock, I have a phone meeting with Dr. Jay Kumar. He just wrote a book, just was released, Science of a Happy Brain. So we're talking together. We have a conference call with he and his associates, and then he's going to be a teacher on Happy You in the coming weeks or maybe next month or something. But we do present a lot of information, a lot of tools, a lot of knowledge on happiness. But ultimately, you said it best when you said it's a habit. And in a way, it's not that I've been happy for 30 years. I've been practicing happiness for 30 years. That's the difference. And it becomes a skill and an ability that we can get, just like playing the piano or playing sports. It is that important to keep doing it. And it doesn't come from knowledge, because there's a lot of smart people that for some reason or another just can't get themselves to be motivated to be happy. And that's because they're not giving themselves permission to be happy.
It's so true. What inspired you to get involved in workplace happiness?
Oh my God. 17 years ago, I wrote an article on happiness at work. There's benefits for the organization, there's benefits for management, and then there's benefits for the individual. And so finally, there's such a thing now that I've gotten a chief happiness officer at the Connecticut Hospice. And I'm glad that that's a real title now for other people, because the workplace needs happiness. Individuals need it. It'll help everybody. It'll help the community, the customers, the staff, and it'll help productivity. It'll help teamwork. It goes on to help every facet of business that you could conceive of. And it's really very simple. It's almost free, in the sense of training people and getting them on board and the whole thing is really about refocusing ourselves when we align ourselves together, because all humanity is, and what we're doing now, connection and conversation. If you're doing those two things, you can make happiness a reality wherever you are. And if you're focusing your connection and conversation on happiness, you're there, because energy begins to percolate when you're focused on happiness, and then all of a sudden, that's what you're manifesting.
So, what would you say to people who ask the question, "Wow, working at hospice, that's some heavy daily emotion. That's some heavy stuff that people are seeing every day." How do you help people in that situation find happiness in their day-to-day work environment?
Well, I really think that, for example, the nurse, I'm going to have a meeting with all the nursing staff, and it's going to be a two-part presentation given in one day, next Wednesday. But I would say to you that these nurses pretty much have found meaning and purpose in their lives, and even dealing with the dying, because it isn't that they're dealing with somebody who's dying. That's true. They are. But it's much more than that. They're dealing with someone who they meet and help transition towards their death, but they're also dealing with the family and the interconnectedness of the family. They become part of the family. So in my interviews with many of the nurses, I discovered that there is no job on earth that could make them happier than doing what they're doing, because they found meaning and purpose, which is another secret to happiness. Meaning and purpose in your life. When you have that, you could do anything and have it be rewarding.
I absolutely love that answer, because it lets me ask the next question. What do you say to the person who's like pushing papers in a cubicle to pay the bills? How can they be happy at work?
I met that person. I met them. Are we talking? No. Well, you know something? It's interesting. I have found that I connect with people. So this person and I really connected. And although they don't normally like to talk with people, they love talking with me. And I think what happens is, when you're happy and you meet someone, you have a different energy when you're happy, because, in my reality, you talked about, in fact, let me back up and say, you said, let happiness win. Isn't that how you started the program?
It is.
Okay. Let happiness win. So I would say this, and it's going to sound almost egotistical, but happiness you need to be self-assured in life, and happiness can give you that. So here's my self-assurance statement that everyone can have. I'm a winner And not only am I a winner, but I can never lose. And there's nothing you could do to make me lose. And so the only game I'm left to play in life is that as a winner, the game I play is I want to help you win. And if you don't want to win, it's okay. You can lose or you could win. It doesn't matter to me either way. I don't lose. So I can only win. In fact, I can't even win because I've already won. There's nothing for me to win. I've got everything I could ever want. So if you realize that happiness is already giving you everything you want, you now have the energy of happiness to go out and do anything you want and to help others, because that gives you more energy, and it's an endless upward cycle.
Isn't that the Dalai Lama said that's the meaning of life, right? Isn't
it is. It really is.
And the meaning of our lives is to be
it's true.
Happy.
Yeah.
Be happy.
You know, Wendy, yesterday I was thinking of, it just came to me, I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I thought, you know, unhappiness is sitting in a chair in the dark waiting for somebody to turn a light on for you. I mean, we can turn our own light on. And and you know what? If you help somebody else's light go on, you help them with their light, your light will shine so much brighter, you have no idea how bright it would get.
Yeah. This is, I've talked about this in so many different workshops and in presentations. And for so many people, Lionel, this is a really new concept that happiness has to do with self-efficacy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've got to say something to you, Wendy, and you're a great interviewer. You spark me up. I could talk to you for hours and days and forever. But here's the thing. When I began to realize the value of happiness, the real depth and meaning and purpose and value of it, what I started realizing, it leads to goodness. It creates the highest virtue imaginable. Aristotle knew that. He taught that. And when I realized that becoming a good person is what happiness does for us, then I said, you know, this is worth sharing with others, because you're not just making one person happy. You're changing the entire system around that person and, you know, the air they breathe. Our thoughts are contagious, and our attitude is even more contagious. So when we become happy, we change the world. So if there's one thing you could do to change the world, it's to become a happy person.
Because it is that the energy is contagious.
Absolutely.
If you were to give a pearl of wisdom to the person who wants it, they want to be happy in their workplace. They inside feel like there's a happy person in there ready to come out, but they are exhausted by the day-to-day. They feel beaten down. They don't know where to start. What would you tell them?
Well, it's a very simple answer as far as I'm concerned. Now, I think it's a simple answer, but that doesn't mean it's easy to follow. And the answer really is, you don't start in a workplace or at home or anywhere else. You start within you. You're the one who's in the workplace. You don't have to change. See, when we think of the workplace, or how can we be happy around other people? By being happy within ourselves and taking total control of us. Once you know how to take control of yourself, it doesn't matter what's going on outside. You don't need to be concerned with circumstances. In fact, ultimately, I'd say this. Happiness is nothing more than learning not to give your power away.
Interesting. Explain what you mean by that. How do we give our power away?
Okay. When we feel like a victim, or when somebody gets to us, you know, and let's say makes us unhappy, or we think that they're making us unhappy, or we blame them for making us unhappy, then we've become a victim and we're being controlled by them. So rather than giving away our power to them, which is ours to keep, if we can control it with happiness, then we no longer are a victim, and we have empowered ourselves, and there's no longer anything that could take it away. We can share it, but nothing could take it unless we become unconscious and lose it for some reason to someone else. So this is all about our thinking and our consciousness.
Yeah.
And so, we need to be a cop, consciousness on patrol. We need to be mindful. We need to understand that we are creating our reality with our thoughts. And if you're not happy, that's the reality you're choosing to create.
I see over and over and over again with people that I work with that they don't recognize skill sets that they already possess. So
True.
all of us, we have the capacity to be happy. We have the capacity to be joyful. We have the capacity to find the way forward in a difficult situation, right? Which is the same thing
Absolutely.
as making happiness a choice. We do these things every single day, and yet that negative component that is a component for all of us, right? That
Sure.
catabolic loop that you were just talking about of I'm a victim and now I'm angry and I'm blaming, and now I'm a victim and now I'm angry and I'm blaming. It's your fault, it's my fault. I'm terrible, you're terrible, right? We get stuck in that cycle, and in those moments we forget that we have this entire other skill set that's a very small bump to get us out of that loop. That very small bump that goes from
you're right, Wendy.
Your fault to nobody's at fault. We're all just doing the best we can.
Yeah, it's amazing how you and I are thinking, because what I was about to say, and it's exactly what you left off with about the fault thing, that's the critical point, and that's where we all fumble. It's really about being right. And when you're happy, you can either be right or you could be happy, and being right doesn't matter anymore. And once it doesn't matter, you've got all the power in the world.
Once you're clear on what the goal is, right? If the goal is, once you're clear on the goal, if the goal is to be happy, you can dial back all of your decisions and choices to that goal. It really does shift the way you behave, the way you're perceived, and all of the outcomes that occur in your life.
Well, I agree with you. I would just state it a little bit differently. And rather than saying it's a goal, I would say I own it. It's me now. I'm being happy right now, no matter what. And it's no longer a goal because now I'm doing it. See, as long as we keep it just a couple of inches into the future, it's not now and it's not at all. So we need to own it. We need to be it right now. Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. So be happy. Being happy is the only answer there is.
I absolutely love it. Thank you, Lionel. That's such incredible work that you do. Can you remind our listeners where they can find more about you?
Sure. It's happinessclub.com. And Wendy, I love us. I love what you're doing. I think you're making a very positive difference for all of us in the world. And don't take it lightly that you are changing the world. We all are with every thought we have. Might as well make it a positive, life-changing one.
Thank you, Lionel. I love us too. Okay. So listeners, as you know, we've always got a tool to go with our episode, and believe it or not, this was chosen in advance of my conversation with Lionel. You'll love this tool, Lionel. It's today's tool is actually a question, and I call it the doorway question. Using it will absolutely have a residual effect on how happy you feel, how happy other people around you feel, and really all of the outcomes in your life. And it's super duper simple. The question is, how do I want to show up? So often in life, we're so busy with our heads down, reacting to all of the things that the environment presents to us, that we don't even realize that we're not showing up and interacting the way that we choose. So my challenge for all of you is to take a couple of minutes today, take a couple of deep breaths, close your eyes, and really envision that best version of you, the one that you're proud of, the one that feeds your happiness, the one that exudes happiness to other people. Really see and feel that version of yourself. And from that moment forward, every time you're about to step through a doorway, and I've been doing this myself for years and years and years now, I can promise you that it works. I teach it to all of my clients. Every time you're about to step through a doorway, take a deep breath and ask yourself the question, how do I want to show up? That simple thing will have an enormous impact on your life. That I promise. All right. So as you know,
beautiful.
Isn't it cool? It's a cool tool, right? And it's about being in the now
tool.
and choosing, right?
Yeah.
Choosing.
I'm going to put that one in my toolbox.
That's awesome. I love sharing toolboxes. So folks out there, you know that we've designed A Glimpse Inside to be a really interactive show. If you'd like to tell me your story, if you want to come on the show as a guest or as a coaching client, or maybe you just want to access the tools that we have to offer and that we talk about on the show, you can do all of that and more by going to aglimpseinside.superpowerexperts.com. Again, you don't use the www here. It's simply aglimpseinside.superpowerexperts.com. I really can't wait to hear from you. I want to thank my guest, Lionel Ketchian, for making the world a happier place and sharing some of that with us today. And thanks to all of you for listening in. If you've missed any of the Letting Happiness Win series, they're always available at aglimpseinside.superpowerexperts.com. And I hope you'll join me the next time when I launch into our newest series, Creating Confidence. Until then, big love.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the superpower quiz today.